The three-position safety can be an interesting option for a safari rifle. Let's take a look at the installation. The traditional sliding safety blocks the trigger, while the three-position safety blocks the firing pin. In the rear position, the bolt won't open and the gun won't fire. In the middle position, the bolt will open, but the gun still won't fire. And in the forward position, the gun will fire. We'll install this three-position safety made by Gentry. I start by completely disassembling the factory bolt, clamping the cocking piece in a vise, and pulling forward on the bolt exposes the cocking piece. A dime is used to hold the cocking piece in this position, while I screw the shroud off the bolt body. I'm using a Mink bolt disassembly tool to expose the firing pin cross pin, which I drive out using a punch. Since I've removed the factory safety lever, I'm installing a spacer to take up the extra space before installing the C-clip. It's important to check that the bolt stop works smoothly. That looks pretty good. Now I can disassemble the Gentry safety. And screw the replacement shroud into the bolt body. It's important that the shroud doesn't drag in the action. With the shroud on the bolt and the bolt completely closed, I'll use a transfer punch to mark through the bolt sleeve and into the back of the bolt. This is for the pin that will lock the bolt closed when the safety is in the rearward position. After clamping the bolt in the milling machine, I use a 1/8 inch carbide end mill to cut a recess about 100 thousandths deep in the back of the bolt body. This recess in the rear of the bolt should allow the locking pin on the front of the replacement shroud to enter freely. Now I can turn the shroud back onto the bolt and check to be sure that when the bolt is closed, I can pull the lever completely to the rear and the bolt is locked. We need the leading edge of the cocking piece relieved to mate with this camming surface on the safety lever. After assembling the cocking piece and firing pin, I'll add a dot of Dicom to it. The bolt shroud is then screwed back onto the bolt body. I can look through the safety lever hole and mark the cocking piece to cut the relief for the safety camming surface. This cut is made at 40 degrees and located so that when the safety lever is moved to the rear, the firing pin is cammed back between 20 and 25 thousandths. Now back to the mill. I'll also need to cut a small relief on the firing pin to allow the safety lever to clear. After placing the cocking piece back on the firing pin, I can mark the location for the relief cut, which I make on the mill. It's about 55 thousandths deep and a 1/2 inch long. Now there's enough clearance for the safety lever to function. All that's left is to reassemble the bolt and check for proper function in all 3 positions. That looks pretty good. We'll add some grease to the contact surfaces during final assembly. Since we're no longer using the factory safety, we can weld up the cutout portion of the receiver tang to improve appearance. I'll weld up the cut and file off the lettering. A file is used to remove all the factory bluing beforehand, ensuring a good weld. A TIG welder is just the ticket for this job. Now we're ready to clean everything up using files until it's ready for the final polish.